All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for letting me come hang out with you. I'm going to bounce back and forth a little bit between PowerPoint and then just kind of talking into the camera. As the son of a teacher, I was really excited to get introduced to Anna and find out about the EdTech incubator and what she's doing over there. And I am an educator myself. I do this for a living. I teach and educate people about customer success specifically. I was an elementary ed major. That was one of my many majors in college. It was actually my first. And I was going to be an elementary school major or teacher until they sent me to an elementary school for the first day. And I came back after that experience and went to my counselor and said, I need to change my major because I will not be able to survive. So I commend all of you who may work with people of that age or any age in the education space. I know it can definitely have its trying times, I am sure, to say the least. So without further ado, I'll jump in here. I think I'm sharing my screen. Can you all give me like a thumbs up if
you are
good? Okay, cool. So off we go. A little bit about us at Success Coaching. First off, I'm going to open it up to the group. And if you're not familiar, you can just press your space bar while you're on Zoom and it'll take you off mute temporarily. And so I'm just going to open this up before I explain more about us. Does anybody know what that is? This is our logo, but do you see anything other than a donkey with a plunger on its head? Maybe something a bit more majestic. Anyone jump in or even put it into chat, I suppose. Anybody? Dominique got it. Lauren got it. There you go. We've got a few. Maggie got it. Yes, that is in fact a unicorn. We believe we can all be unicorns if we get the right tools. And that's what we do at Success Coaching, is help people gain those tools so that they can be, our mission is to help people get into and thrive within the customer success industry. We were founded by Todd and Andrew, my two business partners. I am now one of three owners of this business and I operate as our chief revenue officer. And I get to do a lot of presentations like this. Before COVID, I would fly all over the world getting to talk to people and do keynotes at conferences and stuff. And now I talk to people through the magic of technology and the camera here in my office. I've been working with customers my whole career and I fell into customer success. No one goes to school for customer success. So let me just start right there. There is a few customer success degrees or emphasis is actually in some MBA programs. Like we operate at University of San Francisco and they have a track, a CS track as part of their MBA program. And they use our curriculum, some of which I'm going to teach you here tonight. We also work with Portland State here locally to teach the same type of programs out of their organization. But typically speaking, no one graduates with a degree in customer success. Very few actually, as it's just kind of becoming a thing. And so we've all found it somehow, some way. And for me, it was because I had worked in customer support and I was a technical mind for a while. I was a computer geek and programmer and stuff. And long story short, I got laid off in 2016. And that was the first time since I was 14 years old that I did not have a job. And I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I was getting burnt out a bit with customer support because that's a very reactive world. You're putting out fires and fixing problems all the time, but I loved helping people. And so I looked into sales and well, I had never been a salesperson. So I was gonna have to work my way up. And long story short, there was this little SaaS company here in Portland that had a churn problem and they were hiring a head of customer success to fix the churn problem. And because of my support background, 20-ish years, not to date myself, I was able to get that job. And when I came in as the new head of customer success, this is a true story. I walked in on day one, I pulled out my laptop, I went to Google and I typed in, what is customer success exactly? Now that I'm the head of this thing, I should probably figure out what it is because I thought I knew what it was. And obviously my employer did too, because they hired me in as the head of it. But lo and behold, I found an industry and books written about it and conferences and technology platforms that are purpose built for it. And I started studying and developing my own strategy. I implemented that strategy over the course of 12 months and had a profound impact on that business. In fact, about 30% higher top line revenue a year after I got there. And that was just by implementing an effective customer success strategy. So customer success at its core, how it's different than customer support, for example. Customer success is proactive and strategic. We're proactively, strategically working with our customers to make them, not surprisingly, successful. Customer support is reactive and tactical. Customer service, reactive and tactical. Answer the phone when it rings, fix the problem, beat down the case queue, etc. So they're similar, but on one, I'm on my back foot all the time, trying to fix things that go wrong. On the other, I'm on my front foot all the time, trying to be strategic with my customers and really understanding what they care about. And I'm going to talk a lot about that over the next, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes or so. And so that's what gets me here in front of you. That was about 7 years ago that I found this industry. And I was amazed at the people that were attracted to it because they were all very helpful. Not surprisingly, the people who are attracted to customer success are people. We like to help people. We like to solve problems. And typically speaking, we want to be in that proactive, strategic place. And so there's my career and kind of how I get here in front of you. What we're going to cover over the next, I don't know how long, depending on Q&A and stuff. I'll define what customer success is and what customer experience is. As you look to move into technology, you're going to find a lot of CS and a lot of CX roles. And I want to make sure that everybody's clear on where one stops and the other begins, because there is a lot of overlap, or there can be, depending on the definition. Then we'll go through how does your experience, and this is me brainstorming. Again, I wanted to be a teacher and I couldn't. And so I applaud anybody out there who is, but I brainstormed over the last few days on if I were a teacher, what would it look like in terms of customer success and just business in general? And I'll walk you through that. And then finally, I'll give you some tips and some ways to get started. We'll even give you a promo if you want to become a certified customer success manager. I'm going to share a code with you that will make it very inexpensive to do that if you should so desire. So first off, what is customer success? Objective number one, let's start by defining what it is. Well, where did this whole thing start? It's a new industry. It was actually invented in 2005 by a guy named David Dempsey, who was in charge of renewals at Salesforce. And Salesforce was one of the first uber successful software as a service companies. Before that, we had to buy and own physical products like software. And I had to install it on my laptop or on a server that I had in my company's building. And that was on-premise technology, meaning it was on the premise. And it was perpetual license. I own it. I have a very high barrier of entry to buy it. It's very expensive, but once I buy it, I own it and I just kind of maintain it from that point on and away we go. Now, Salesforce came along and all of a sudden you didn't have to buy it. You could go to their website and just sign up for it and use it as a service. So that's where the whole SaaS name comes from, software as a service. And as we've seen as industry after industry moves to this, there's a lot of new ways that we can do things as a service. So for example, think of watching a movie at home. If you're old enough like me, you might remember Betamax and VHS and then laser discs and then DVDs and Blu-rays and HD DVDs. All of those were existed and were created in the product era. If my desired outcome, what I was hoping to accomplish, was to watch a movie at home, the only way for me to do that in the product era was to get my hands on a physical DVD, a piece of plastic that I didn't care about. I don't care about what it is. I care about what it does. The only value it has for me is that it allows me to watch that movie at home. And so Blockbuster was huge. And we would pay about $19, give or take, for one movie, and you would own it. And it was on premise. You had it in your home and you could watch it once or a million times. They didn't care because you paid your $19. And then maybe it might scratch or break. And then that would drive you back to buy a replacement product. And that worked great until Netflix came along. And what Netflix did that Blockbuster didn't originally, before technology caught up, Netflix would allow you to set up a queue online. And they would mail and ship the DVD to your home. You'd watch it, you'd mail it back, and they'd ship you the next one in your queue. What that is the exact same outcome, watching a movie at home, but with a vastly improved experience. So that's where CX comes into play. Instead of me going to Blockbuster only to find them out of stock of the movie that I wanted and have to rent something else because we're here anyway, why not? And then getting nickel and dimed on late fees, et cetera. They had a better way for us to do the exact same thing. And so then technology catches up, and all of a sudden now you can just stream it. And that's what killed the entire DVD industry, not just Blockbuster, but very rarely do people buy DVDs anymore because we can just watch it streaming. We can just click a button. And frankly, if I have to pay $3 or $4 to watch the movie, that's more convenient than having to go rent it or buy it or figure out how to get my hands on that physical piece of plastic, that DVD that, again, we never cared about what it was. We cared about what it did. And once we could get that through a better way, a better experience, we never looked back. And so use that analogy as you look at this. In the product era, then this macro level shift in the economy moved us from the product era to the service era. And when I learned this is when the light bulbs went off and I decided I'm jumping in head first on this customer success thing, because customer success was born out of this shift from the product era to the service era. When we had to manufacture physical products, oftentimes demand would exceed supply. And what we focused on was Six Sigma, which is like a manufacturing discipline. And basically our relationships with our customers were that of that reactive, tactical customer support nature. Then technology catches up, and all of a sudden we're in the service era where we can stream movies, and Netflix can have one person watching it or 1 million people watching it all at the same time. They never have to manufacture these physical pieces of plastic and figure out how to get them in front of the right customer at the right time in the right amount of inventory. And so we never looked back. And so for the first time in history, supply often exceeds demand. In fact, supply is infinitely scalable. They never would have ever would have manufactured enough DVDs of Squid Game for us all to watch it. That just never would have happened. Yet there we all saw it because of this shift from the product era to the service era. And so that changes everything when it comes to business. It changes how we incur our revenue. It changes how we manage our customers. And that was what bore the need for this new way of working with customers, that is customer success. So we've seen this play out in like economy after economy or industry after industry, the subscription economy, right? Car ownership as a service. Obviously, all of our entertainment options are streaming. This one in the bottom right is called Einstein in a Box. That's a toys for children. Rather than buying a toy that my kid gets bored with 10 minutes later and now I'm stuck with it, that would be product era. I can pay a subscription to Einstein. They mail me a box of toys. My kid plays with those until they get bored. I mail them back. They ship me a new box of different toys. Because what we care about isn't the product itself. It's not the toy. It's what it does. Brings a smile to our child's face, gets their brain thinking, maybe creatively, whatever. Peace and quiet for any parents out there. A lot of times that's the outcome we're actually purchasing when we buy a toy. And yet they get bored with it so fast that it doesn't deliver on that hope, on that dream. And so Einstein in a Box, toy ownership as a service. You see this everywhere. And what this means is the financial risk has shifted. When I had to pay $19 for one movie, the risk was on me as a consumer, as a customer. And now that I can stream millions of movies for I think it's up to 12, 14 maybe bucks a month on Netflix, I'm never going to go back because the financial risk has moved from me over to the vendor. They get a little bit of money over time instead of a whole bunch of money up front. And that's the dynamic shift for businesses that move into the as a service or the subscription economy, or if they're even born there. But at the end of the day, like I said, customers buy what they do, what these products do, not what they are. That's why Salesforce was such a big success. Nobody cared if they installed it on their local machines. In fact, it's less inconvenient to do so. It's more convenient for me to be able to go and sign up online and start using the product immediately. And so what this slide is all about is nobody buys a drill bit because they think the drill bit is such a cool tool. They buy the drill bit because they need it to drill a hole. That's how every customer is at every company in every industry. We use these things for the outcomes that we're looking to achieve, and we don't necessarily care what they are, we care what they do, just like the drill bit and the hole. So there's some key concepts in the customer success industry that I'm going to run you through. There's 9 that I'm going to walk you through here that are really like the foundational components of doing customer success. And so this would be good homework to do, read up on it. We've obviously got a bunch of education around it as well. But first and foremost, we have to understand what an ideal customer profile is, also known as ICP for short. This was created in the marketing world back in the day, and it has moved into the customer success world because as we work with customers, we find out the good ones who, yep, this is a perfect customer for us, and the not so good ones. And we can help our marketing teams refine who that ICP picture is and get better and better at who we market to. Number 2, the customer journey. This is everything from how they find out about you to how they go through and decide if you're the right person for them, to everything that happens once they do. And once they do, that means they're a customer. So how do we onboard them and get them optimized? I'm going to take you through an example customer journey map here in a little bit as well. Number 3 is a success plan. This is basically a roadmap on a road trip. Just like we would back in my day, when I'm old enough to remember before navigation and stuff, we had these paper things called maps. And if I was going on a road trip, I would highlight where we were going to go. We're going to take this highway to that highway to this intersection, whatever the case may be. That is your success plan. It is simply a map that shows you not only where you are, but where you're going, and then how you're going to get there. And that success planning function is really a core piece of doing customer success. We are literally mapping out what success is to you and defining what it is to you. And then we're working with you to deliver on that, to make sure you get that. Next up is an engagement model. This measures level of effort over time. So there's different amounts of work it's going to take for me to train you and educate you versus a year later once you know what you're doing. And so we track that on top of our customer journey map, and we can predict, again, we want to be proactive and strategic. We can predict when we're going to need more people, less people, when it's going to take more of our customers' time, less of our customers' time, et cetera. Number 5, executive business reviews. You'll also hear out there in the CS world the concept of QBRs, quarterly business reviews. I wrote an article that I'll show you how to get to. I wrote an article earlier this week, but I'll show you later how to get to it. And it's called QBRs Are Stupid. And I take an approach on why this is such a dumb thing to do. And I'll be happy to share that out with everybody. But EBRs, executive business reviews, are not stupid. And in fact, they're very critical for us. And I'll come back to those and explain more in a second. Now, next up is a customer health score. This is my way to measure, are you a healthy customer or are you not? Are you trending in the right direction or are you not? For example, years ago, I quit Facebook cold turkey. I just deleted the app, I shut down my account, and they won't just let you leave. It's like the mafia, right? Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And so what Facebook did was, at first, they started emailing me every day saying, hey, one of your connections posted this thing. Don't you want to come back in? And then it was every week. And then it was about once a month until finally they gave up. The reason they did that, and they do that for hundreds of millions of people around the world when they quit using the product. And the reason they do that is because they saw my health, my customer health score go down. I went from a daily active user to not using it at all. And so they wanted to take every step they could to try to get me back into the product because that affects their valuation of their company. That's a customer health score. We're proactively predicting if customers are moving on the right trajectory or not. Number 7 is a segmentation strategy. Not all customers are created equal. And in fact, not all dollars of revenue are created equal. And I'll explain more about that later. But basically what this is is simply frequent flyer programs or hotel chains. When I fly on Alaska Airlines, I am a big dog because I fly on Alaska Airlines a lot and I got a lot of miles with them. I'm MVP gold. When I fly on anything else, I'm just anybody else. And that's segmentation. For Alaska Airlines, I have a status that shows them that we want him to continue coming because he travels enough that we want to give him upgrades or whatever perks they can give as part of my status. That's all segmentation is. We've done this in the travel industry for years. Now, finally, businesses are doing it, and we're segmenting out our most strategic, highest touch customers all the way down to our least strategic and what we call a tech touch customer. And typically you end up with 3 segments: high touch, which are again top MVP goals, and then tech touch is on the other end, and in the middle you end up with what is called low touch, which would be kind of a blend of the two. And so that's what segmentation allows us to do, is be intelligent with how we service our customers. And that's another thing that's not on here, but would be good to make a note of: an intelligent service model. It means I'm being intelligent. I'm using a segmentation strategy to be smart about how I service my customers. And then number 8, plays and playbooks. That's exactly what it sounds like, just from the sporting world. We're going to run this play at this time. It allows us to standardize what we do in customer success so that we can improve and iterate over time and create a better customer experience. And then last but not least is voice of the customer. This is surveys, basically. You may be familiar with NPS, stands for Net Promoter Score. If you're not, highly recommend Googling it. It's very easy to learn about. There's also CSAT. That's a customer satisfaction survey. Those are like your 10 questions that we've all seen a million times. How good was this? How bad was that, et cetera. And then there's another one called a CES, which stands for Customer Effort Score, and that measures how much friction. So whenever you get an email that says, hey, how easy was it for you to get checked in at the hotel? That's a CES survey that they're running to try to figure out if that checking in, that onboarding of your experience with that hotel was good. So at the end of the day, customer success comes down to 3 Ds. It's very simple, and I'm going to walk you through each of these and explain what this means. First off, the first D is that we're going to define what success is. And I'm going to talk more about how we do that in a second. Number 2, we're going to deliver on that. Once we've defined what success is to you as a human and a customer, well, then I'm going to deliver on that. That's what you want and how you want it, etc. And then finally, number 3, I'm going to demonstrate to you that I've done so. And that's where business reviews come back in and are so critical. That's where we can demonstrate that you said this was what success is. We delivered on that. And I need you to know it without a shadow of a doubt so that you then renew and continue to pay your $9 a month with Spotify. By the way, at the end of the year, Spotify sends out an email called, this year it was 2021 Wrapped. Last year was 2020 Wrapped. And it shows you all of this unique listening information. You listen to these artists at this time of day, and these days of the week, etc. Here's your most popular artist or genre, etc. And what that is an annual business review done at massive scale. They send it to hundreds of millions of subscribers, and it shows you the value you got for your subscription every month last year. The whole idea here to keep you from canceling your subscription as you go into a new year and you look at your credit card statement and think, man, we have a lot of streaming services. Which ones can we, cancel? Well, Spotify wants you to know the value that you got. And so that's why they do that wrapped email campaign. That's demonstration. That's the 3rd D of customer success. And so how can we define what success is? Very simply, it comes down to this definition. My little chicken brain, when I found out this definition, I thought, oh, that I can get. I understand this. And it's very similar or very simple. The person, the human's definition of success. So my definition of success comes down to 2 things: my desired outcome, what I want to accomplish. So go back to the analogy of watching the movie at home. Okay, that's what my outcome was, plus my desired experience. How do I get to accomplish it? Well, once they started mailing the DVDs to me and I didn't have to go to Blockbuster and find it out of stock, that was a better experience, same outcome. And so that was a higher volume of success. I'll show you a couple other examples of that in a second as well. But give me what I want, what I'm looking to accomplish. And these all come down to one of two things. It's going to be pains to relieve or gains to achieve. It's always one or the other. And so I either have a pain point I need a solution for, or I'm looking to get bigger, faster, stronger. But whatever it is, give me what I want and give it to me how I want it, when I want it, where I want it, and be predictive about that. That's why Netflix doesn't wait for you to come and search. They have a recommendation engine based on what you have watched, how long you've watched it, whether you watched other things like it. They build all this data about you because they can see how you use the product. Now, if I sold you a physical DVD, I'd never know if you watched it once or 1,000 times. But since it's as a service now, I can see it. And I can use that data to be predictive and proactive on what you're going to want to watch next. When we do that, both of those successfully, or better than our competition, I guess I should say, we will deliver a higher volume of success for our customers. Then it's just a matter of making sure they know they got that value. And I'll talk about that as well. But think about this in terms of an outcome. Uber versus taxi, same outcome, literally the same thing. I get a ride from point A to point B. But the experience on Uber, I could order it on the app, I could pay on the app, I could see where the car was, I could contact the driver. When I got in the car, they offered me mints and bottle of water and whatever kind of music I wanted to listen to. All of that was simply on the experience side, on the CX, delivering the exact same CO, but doing it in a better CX. And then that decimated that wasn't even just a company. That took over the entire industry of taxi cabs was decimated from that improvement on the CX side. Netflix taking over Blockbuster, same thing, same exact outcome, vastly improved experience, decimates, again, not only just Blockbuster, but the whole industry of DVDs has basically gone to the wayside. So in both examples have the same exact outcome, but a vastly improved experience, thus a vastly higher volume of success for their customers. That's what creates winners and I won't say losers, but maybe not winners. When we can improve upon both of those and deliver the same or better outcome through a better experience, we will succeed in this subscription economy. Okay, so there's your 3Ds. And again, we're going to define what it is for these people. We're going to deliver what they want. We're going to do it how they want. And then we're going to demonstrate it to them, just like Spotify does through massive scale with that end of year email, or business reviews is another way where I'll sit down with my customer and show them the outcomes that we've delivered for them so that they have, and we've done it so stupidly obvious that they continue to pay their subscription over time. Because again, we get a little bit of money over time in this subscription economy instead of a whole bunch of money up front. How business works, the business economics are different today than they were just 10 years ago. All right, so that's what CS is. Well, what is customer experience? Here's that example of a customer life cycle, and I can walk you through what this looks like. Up at the top in red is your marketing team. So it's a funnel. So I market to a whole bunch of people up top. That's why it gets smaller at the bottom towards the customer in the middle. And and this is how I do demand generation and let people know I exist. So this is everything from webinars like this to outbound, inbound, pay-per-click, SEO, blog posts, funny looking logos that have a donkey and a plunger, whatever you do so people know you exist, because they'll never buy your thing if they don't know you exist. So that's his commercials and billboards and knocking on doors and anything and everything so that people know we exist. We do that to more people than they find out about us. So that's why there's more at demand gen than awareness, because not everybody is going to see the billboard or answer the phone or be home when we knock on the door, etc. And then from there, you have your sales team. This is your sales process. And all they do is shepherd this evaluation process and then ultimately the decision-making process to become a customer. So I market and do demand gen to a ton of people. Some of them become aware of us. Some of those, not all, will download the ebook, attend the webinar, do the thing, try the free trial, whatever it is to end up in our sales funnel. And then some of those will decide to become a customer, but not all of them. So it's a huge one-to-many at the top of that funnel there. Then you get into post-sale. And this is bottom of funnel. You'll hear that out there in the business world, back of house, post-sale, whatever, but this is customer success. And activate is getting them onboarded as quickly and frictionlessly as possible. So that's up and running and using the thing. Then optimize is once they've realized the value. So we've had a chance to demonstrate that value and we've been delivering that value. And then when we do that appropriately and you do the 3Ds, that does lead to renewal, because if I'm getting what I said was success, I will continue to pay that. That's why I probably will never cancel my Netflix subscription or my Spotify subscription, because I get so much value out of it and I know it. And so I'm just going to keep paying that probably until I die. And then from there, we look at expansion. This is same people using more, doing more, spending more. That's why the funnel gets bottom or bigger at the bottom, because we want to be able to deliver more value, more things. And so if I have other things for you to buy that I can, that address a pain or a gain for you, it's in your best interest to know about it. And when I do that very well, I will create an advocate out of you. And an advocate is someone who is out there in their own community talking to their colleagues at conferences and meetups and events like this, and they're speaking positively about us. The person they talk to is called a customer success qualified lead, or CSQL. And notice how that arrow for the CSQL comes in the middle of the funnel, meaning I don't have to market to those people. So I save all of that marketing spend on that lead just because I generated it by making my current customer so wildly successful, making their lives better. A great book to read is called CCO 2.0. It's by a friend of mine named Jeannie Bliss. She's out of Seattle. She is a pioneer in customer success. And she talks in that book about our job is to make people's lives better. Literally make their life better because you're in it. Not a value proposition or B2B ROI. It's about making people's lives better, which as I think about teaching, it doesn't sound that far off all of a sudden. I kind of feel like that's our job as educators, to make people's lives better. And so there's your first kind of overlap on how your experience relays into customer success. It does at its core. And then finally, that ICP up at the top. We want to refine who we're marketing to over time so that when we spend all that money up at the top to do the webinars and the blog posts and the radio ads and the TV ads or whatever we do for marketing, we want to refine on who we go after so that we can be more efficient with that spend. And so in short, customer experience is about the journey. It's about how we do all of those things, from marketing to sales to all the stuff at the bottom of the funnel to that advocacy piece and the ICP. It's all about the how we're doing it. Customer success is about the destination. Experience is about the journey. Success is about the destination. Did you get me my definition of success in terms of desired outcomes? Did you deliver those? And did you do it in my desired experience? And then did you demonstrate it to me? So there's your, again, 3Ds. We're going to define, deliver, and demonstrate success. Okay. Number 3, how is this applicable for teachers? Well, this is, again, me brainstorming. And I hope my goal here in 1 hour is to just get your wheels turning about your own experience and your own background and be able to translate it into the business world and specifically the customer success industry. But understand, make no mistake, every day that you've taught, you've been gathering experience in customer success and customer experience. It's just a matter of translating that into a B2B or enterprise or SaaS or tech or whatever you're looking to go into into those terms. So think about the definition and think about the different players that you have involved. As a student, what is my desired outcome? And what is my desired experience? Having a student, so as a parent, I've got an 11-year-old and I've got a 13-year-old and 15-year-old stepsons. And so our three boys, which by the way, this is a second marriage for my wife and I, we got married last August, and my son's name is Henry, he's 11. Her youngest's name is Oscar, he's 13. And her oldest's name is Henry, he's 15. So we have two Henrys and an Oscar. I affectionately refer to them as Biggie and Smalls, just to keep it straight around here. Okay, so anyway, I digress. Let me get back to sharing. What happened? Zoom, here we go. So think about it for your parents, think about it for your students, think about it for your faculty members, think about it for your administrators. What are the desired outcomes that the administration wants out of me as a teacher? To translate that into a tech company, that would be my leadership or my boss. My boss has a desired outcome and a desired experience in terms of what I do on that team. I need to understand what that is and deliver that and then demonstrate that I have. Other faculty would be your colleagues or teammates that you're working with. What are their desired outcomes in working with me? How can I make their lives better? That's literally what this is all about. The parents would be what would be considered an executive stakeholder or a decision maker in the business world. And so this is like your buyer. And they are basically the decision maker on if that student stays in your class. Your class and yourself, by the way, would be a product. That's literally the tool they're using to accomplish whatever their desired outcome was. And so then the student would be considered an end user. That's someone who uses the product in a tech company, for example. And that essentially attending your class is using the product to achieve my desired outcome, my definition of success. And across those four areas, try to put it in your own words, in your own thoughts of who would be that executive stakeholder and an end user, who your leadership team would look like, and then what your teammates would be, your colleagues would be. And how we deliver all of that is their desired experience, and then teachers that deliver the same desired outcome, but do it with a better desired experience. I've had teachers who taught the exact same curriculum, but one of them was better than the other one. That means it's the same outcome. I'm learning X, Y, or Z, but because this teacher did it that way, I either learned it easier or more fun or whatever the case may be. That's the experience side of what you're delivering as teachers. And by delivering more success or doing it in a better experience, we can deliver a higher volume of success. So if we take it back to this real quickly, how do parents find out about your school and district and you as a teacher? How do they even know you exist? What do they read? How do they research? What do we do to show them where we are and who we are and how we teach? And then how do they evaluate us against our quote unquote competition? There's other school districts and other classes and other teachers and other subjects. So how do we help navigate that decision-making process for them to decide to settle down in our district and invest in our community to be there and send their most valuable people in the world to them, their children, under our supervision? And then at the bottom, what's the onboarding experience like for a new family in town, a new student in class, a new faculty member that came on into your school? That's all about that onboarding component. How do we know when they're optimized? Do they have a social circle? Are they engaged in class with the curriculum? And then renewal is simply every time a family doesn't move their child out of your class or move to a different school district, that would be essentially a renewal. Expansion would be something along the lines of who's doing the extra credit. Those kids who are there and engaged in doing that extra credit then become your advocates. And they're out there talking to their friends on the playground or wherever, or the parents are talking to other parents. Hey, you should send Billy to my son's class. He loves Teacher Thompson, or whatever the case may be, right? That's your advocate. Who you're talking to is simply a CSQL, or I should say who they're talking to, is simply a CSQL. They're recruiting people to come to your school and be a part of your community because you've made their lives so much better. And then finally, who's our ideal customer profile? Who's our ideal administrator? Who's our ideal faculty member? Who's our ideal student? Who's our ideal parent? And understanding who those folks are, what they look like, so that we can find as many of them as possible and then build the business, which would be more kids in class. All right, so then how do we get started? I've got a few different resources here for you, and then I think we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. But the first thing that you can do, if you so choose, is to actually get certified in customer success management. If I want to be a project manager, I can go get a certification as a project manager, and that helps me get that job. Well, now we can get certifications as customer success managers, and we've developed the world's first, and we have multiple levels of certification, again, being taught at USF and Portland State, et cetera. How you can go do this is on our website. We have a couple different ways to do it. One is a live experience where I pull out the whiteboard and I'm presenting much like this. Another is self-guided, self-paced, online, and it's much less expensive. And in fact, what I'm able to offer, so you can see it's 99 bucks to get started. Where you're going to go if you're interested in this is successcoaching.co, not .com. We're still trying to wrestle away that domain. Successcoaching.co, and then under the training dropdown, you'll select online training for individuals. If you're interested in live events, look at the virtual boot camps option or this 12-week program that we have. You can check all that out. But for tonight and for this group, for our level 1, which is called launch, you'll see. So after you click on that link, it's going to take you to a page where you'll have different levels to choose. You always want to start with level 1. It's all the foundational components of how to do this stuff. And you're going to hit subscribe now. And on the next screen, you can input a coupon code ED2CSM dash or minus 80. So educator to CSM minus 80. And we're going to knock 80% off. So it makes it like 19 bucks and something to get started. And it'll give you a year of access to the certification. It includes the certification exam. It's about 15 hours to get through the certification and the content. There are 12 courses, a bunch of exercises and quizzes, as well as tools that you can actually use as a customer success manager. And so when you do that and you put in that code, just make sure that you get this 80% off EdTech special, knocks it down to $19.80, and then you go ahead and proceed to checkout. If you do go ahead and sign up, please, once you are signed up and you are in the platform, we have a chat object in the bottom left-hand corner. Make sure you hit that and ask us to disable auto renew so that we don't accidentally bill you 99 bucks a year from now, because I'd hate for that to happen. So just let us know you want us to disable auto renew, and we can see who you are. You don't even have to give us your email and stuff. We'll be able to tell just because you're logged into the platform. And then we can go in and disable that for you and make sure we don't accidentally bill you down the road. Where'd it go? Okay, bear with me here. Don't know what happened. There we go. All right, why can't, yeah, there it is. All right, so there's one way to get started, and that's a nice looking slide. I don't know why Zoom and PowerPoint tend to do that now. So that's one way to get started, and it'll take you through the whole CSM certification, and you'll learn all the foundational components of not only the history of it, but how to do it effectively. It'll help you get through the bots, because now you'll have oh, by the way, when you pass the final exam, it provides you a encrypted certification to put on LinkedIn, and it goes in your education and badges section, and it's valid for 2 years from the point of issuance. And that alone, now you have certified customer success manager on your resume, on your LinkedIn CV. That alone will help you get through some of the bots and some of the automation and craziness that happens with applying for specifically tech jobs, but kind of anywhere, I suppose. All right, you also get accredited. We've got all the information online. I'm going to keep moving. Number 2, you can get free help. And so also on our website, successcoaching.co, we have an ebook called The Ultimate Guide to Getting a Customer Success Job, or getting it. Yeah, I would highly recommend reading that. That'll help you translate your experience into customer success vernacular. And so read through that. It talks about resume preparation and how to update your LinkedIn. So again, and get your foot in the door so that you can tell your story of everything you've done as an educator and why it applies directly to either ed tech or any other tech, specifically in a CSM role. We've also got a customer success competency model. This is a 89-page PDF that goes through 5 main competencies and 18 skills for a junior CSM, a senior CSM, and a customer success leader. Read through that, look in the mirror, and evaluate where you have strengths and where you have weaknesses so that you can play to your strengths in the interview process and hopefully avoid the maybe areas where we have blind spots. So there's 2 free resources. Also in this list are a ton of free webinars. These are all recorded, the Leadership Roundtable, the CSM Masterminds, and a concept of moments of truth. Go in there, dig around, check out all the stuff we have. There is hundreds of hours of free presentations and curriculum out there for you to take advantage of if you don't want to do the certification, or even if you do. Then we have a job board up here. This has about 300 customer success manager jobs that are posted today. You can also go there and post that you're looking for a CSM job. Fill out a profile and it'll try to match you up through this concept of an Airtable. So those are all different resources. Again, successcoaching.co as a way to get started. Number 3, start following the right people. And here's a good way a good place to get started. In that same list, we have the top 100 in customer success. These are the top 100 influencers, well, the top 25 influencers and the top 100 as chosen by their peers, the most effective customer success professionals in the world. So click in there, find those people, go connect with them on LinkedIn, and they will be happy. You will be amazed at how helpful people are in this industry, because once again, we're all people after all. And then up there, also follow our blog. So here's the top 25, or the start of it. These are all good friends of mine by now, but 5 years ago, I didn't know any of these folks and they didn't know me. So definitely go find that. And then this is a snapshot from our blog, top 5 places to find customer success jobs. As an example, that's one of our blog posts. So we have tons and tons and tons of stuff out there. That's just from January 4th of this year. The other place you can go is my personal website, redslacks.com. And in there, I have all of my public speaking. There's a ton of keynotes. There's podcast appearances. There's articles that I've written. That's where you can go find the QBRs are stupid article. I also have another article I wrote about a month ago around the 3 Ds of customer success. So if you want to go learn more about that, go peruse my website, all completely free. And then let's connect on LinkedIn as well. You can see my little URL there. But if you search for Aaron Thompson, I'll probably be the first one that comes up. Maybe not. Type in customer success. I definitely will. Or you can just find me using that URL there, LinkedIn/in/atomps. And I will be happy to help anyone I can. Obviously, 1 hour is not enough time to really do a whole lot. So I'm happy to have follow-up conversations. Just shoot me a connection, and then we can DM on LinkedIn. I'm on there all day, every day. All right, so there's what customer success is. It was born out of that shift in the economy from the product era to the service era, and it comes down to those 3 Ds, and ultimately it's all about the destination. Customer experience is all about the journey. 100% of your experience is applicable to becoming a CSM. It's just a matter of translation. And then there's your different ways to get started. There's what we covered. Once again, a reminder on this, that promo code ED2CSM-80, it's only valid until the end of February, and it's only valid for 200 uses. So once it's like a first come, first serve. So if you are interested in that, make sure you go to that website, sign up for launch, use that promo code, and then don't forget to let us know that we need to disable your auto renew, because you probably won't want to pay $100 for it again a year later. All right, that's what I've got. We've got a few minutes. I wish we had a little more. I tried to go real fast, but Anna, why don't we open it up, and I'm happy to kind of do an Ask Me Anything or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, there are some questions that came in, but I think you answered some of them along the way. So here are some questions that are just coming in that I think are helpful. So one is from Stella, and it's, what questions can we ask companies to vet that they are customer centric?
That's a great question, because you'll get a lot of BS answers. Everybody says they're customer centric and very few customers are. One of the courses in that level 1 certification is all about that. It's called Think Like a Customer. It's our CSM 102. It's the second thing we teach. And in there's a lot more than I can cover here in this quick answer. But in short, it's about what do they do to bring the customer to the non-customer facing roles. So you got engineers, you got product people, you got legal, finance, administrators. A lot of people in the business never interact with a customer. And if you want to be customer centric, everyone has to hear these stories. And so what do they do tactically? And so we have recommendations in there, such as bring the customer on site or have them on a Zoom call and have them tell their story about how painful their life was before you, and then what you did to get started and how amazing it is today, right? They're going to talk about their journey, and that's one way to do it. Having a dedicated space on their employee newsletter that has a video, a 1-minute video every month from a customer talking about their story. But those are a couple of ideas on tactical ways to do it. But the broad question is, what do you do to bring the customer to non-customer facing roles? Because it's super easy to be customer centric in support and customer success and even account management, because I'm working with customers every day. It's much harder for me to be customer centric as an engineer or a product manager who may or may not work directly with them.
Awesome. And another question that I saw earlier on was, someone was noting how when they go to apply to jobs on LinkedIn, sometimes it's like there are 200 applicants already to this position, 500 for a lot of customer success jobs. So is there any advice you can give to applicants to standing out, or maybe how to reach out to those hiring managers?
Yeah, you're never going to get there through the traditional recruiting and hiring channels. It's it's the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's why I would strongly recommend following people, connecting with people on LinkedIn. I was amazed at how many people were willing to have a 15-minute phone call when I was getting started, and I didn't know anybody. I had nothing to offer in return, but authors of books and CEOs of customer success companies, et cetera, consultants out there in the world, all willing to have a quick conversation. And yeah, I'd be prepared. I'd come with real good questions, tactical questions. How do you do segmentation? How do you do success planning? And I would want to learn about specific customer success things, not tell me your journey of how you became who you are or whatever. I wanted to know specific things because I was developing that strategy at that company when I was the head of CS, and I didn't know what CS was. So I had to learn from others. And so it's really going to be about that. Build that network and really start to read the books and start to build that network. And if you can be a customer, that's the best. So if I've walked in my customer's shoes, I'm already more empathetic and customer centric. I know the pains and gains that person experiences. And so those are the types of companies that I'll be a better candidate for if I'm looking for a CSM job. If I've been a teacher, I'm going to be a good candidate for ed tech or something else that teachers use. If I've been a nurse, it's going to be health tech or whatever the case may be. And so the more you can get targeted, the better. We also have a lot of recommendations in that ultimate guide to getting a job. We talk about applying less often, more targeted, better. Like if you're doing copy paste for your cover letters, like you probably shouldn't expect to get a call back. Like you can't do this at scale. This has to be, I am the perfect person for this. And think about it in terms of that definition of success. That hiring manager has a pain point. They've got an outcome that they're looking to solve, and they're hiring someone to solve that problem. Understanding that pain point as best you can when you are applying will allow you to write a purpose-built cover letter and have a better resume that's focused towards that definition of success. Again, CO and CX. So take that same logic, apply it to the hiring manager, and that can help you be more targeted as well.
That's absolutely fantastic advice. So we're just about at time, but so many people in the chat are saying thank you for this. And some are already signing up for that course, which is great. Get on that now, because there was about 120 people on this call, and I'm going to be emailing it out to all 500 who signed up. And I know there's only 200 spots available. So I highly encourage y'all, if you do want to take advantage of that code, to do it sooner rather than later. Personally, I'm kind of tempted to sign up just to take it as a marketer. I'm always curious about the customer side of things. So really, thank you so much, Aaron, for this. I know I learned a ton.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm dead serious about connecting with me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. I'll be as responsive as I can with other things that I have going on. But at the end of the day, my goal in life, finding this thing has literally changed my life professionally and personally. And I just constantly am trying to pay that forward. My goal is to help people get into and thrive within this industry. So don't hesitate to reach out. Please do.
Well, thank you. And thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your night.
Thanks, Anna. Take care.